I'm Liz Duplessis, the Instructional Designer in Distance Education at Santa Rosa Junior College. In this three-part series, SRJC Instructional Accessibility Specialist Corrine Haverinen shows 3 accessibility testing tools for faculty to use to maintain the accessibility of online courses between reviews. The first tool is the Canvas Accessibility Checker in the Rich Content Editor. It's useful while you're creating or editing content in Canvas with the Rich Content Editor, one page at a time. It offers an interface for fixing errors on the spot. Here's Corrine.
Today we're going to talk about testing tools in Canvas. And so I'm starting on a page that I've created in a Canvas shell that has a whole number of errors. And we're going to try 3 different tools to see how they do in finding the errors. So we're going to start with Canvas's very own testing tool. It's called the Canvas Accessibility Checker. Some of us call it the little man or Da Vinci because that's what he looks like right here. So you need to be in editing mode, which I just went into. And when I click on this Check Accessibility icon, it brings up a sidebar on the right-hand side here, and it lays over the Canvas course. And it says there's 11 issues, and we're going to look at the issues one by one. So the first one it says is there's this table, and notice it's highlighted this table in a sense. There's a box around it. And it says that there's no headers on this table. So if you know about table accessibility, you know that we need to have header cells designated when they are such in a data table. And we do have header cells for columns and header cells for rows in this particular table. So we can actually fix it right from this interface that has popped up. And if I click on this downward arrow, we can say, hey, add headers to a row, or headers to a column, or header to row and column, which we would choose this last choice right here. I'm not going to do this right now because I want to preserve my errors on this page for my own purposes. So I'm going to go to the next item, and it's jumped down to the next table on this page, and it says, well, you need a caption on this table. Now this table, I have this in here because it's an example of a table used for layout purposes only. This is not really a data table. So any errors that we see, accessibility errors, with regards to this table, we can just ignore. Okay, so we're going to ignore that. I don't think we need a caption to this table. And we don't need to have header cells. And it's again targeting this particular table for header cells. So I'll go to the next one, and now it's talking about the color, and it's actually highlighted this Accessibility 101 text that is a green color, and it says there's not enough contrast. And the really great thing about this interface is you can choose another color. You can choose something a bit darker. The thing that's not so good about it is not telling me when I hit the sweet spot where I've actually got enough contrast. So you can just kind of eyeball it. We want to get a lot of contrast. But again, I'm not going to apply this because I want to preserve my errors in this case. So now I go to the next error, and we have a header here, and it says the heading levels should not be skipped. That means I had a header 2 and skipped to a header 4 or something like that. And if we click on the downward arrow, we can fix the heading hierarchy, which is a really cool thing that you can just fix it with one click, or we can remove the heading style altogether. Font size, which is chosen right here in the Rich Content Editor tools, and headers, which is chosen right here, are separate. So you can set a header and then you can choose a font size. So you can change that irregardless of each other. And I see instructors do that all the time. They pick their header size by the size of type they want. Don't do that. Set your size over here and choose the proper header for the outline of your page. So let's go on to the next item, and we're in another table. It shows me, this one I've actually typed in a caption. I typed in, type your caption. I probably should have put something more descriptive so you can tell that that's what that is a caption. So it didn't bring up the caption issue, but again it brought up the header issue. The reason why I put this table in here is I wanted to put a table in with an extra row and an extra column, which is actually an accessibility error. You kind of want to get rid of that. But it doesn't really come up in the checking tools here. So we would set the headers here, and that's all it would let us do with that particular table. So let's go on to the next one. And then I have a whole bunch of colored items here. And again, it's just what I showed before. And so I'm going to skip through all those. I put these in because I want to show that in one of our other testing tools I'll show later. So this is just all handled the same way as before. And this little item in here, it says there's a color problem, but it's black. What's up with that? Well, what's going on? Sometimes when you copy and paste, behind the scenes in the HTML, you've copied in some formatting. And there's a formatting behind the scenes that made it a color, and then another format that put it back to black. So it's not really an error, but it might come up in an accessibility check as an error. So if you ever see that, that's what's gone on, and you really don't have to do anything about it if it's black. If you really wanted to, you could hit this clear formatting, and then that error probably won't be coming up in the future. Okay, so now we're back to issue number 1.
Thanks, Corrine. Be sure to look for our upcoming videos on the accessibility testing tools Wave and You Do It. Watch more of our videos on YouTube by searching SRJC Distance Education. You can find our playlists, watch videos, like them, share them, subscribe, and add comments. Thanks for watching.